think Donald Trump doesn't really care about the country or people. He only cares about himself. All he sees are wins or loses for him. And what we saw this year really was about how is he going to undo everything that Obama did during his presidency, the historic presidency that he did. And that's all it is for him. And I think that they're going to have a difficult time next year, Republicans, because not only do they have a very historically unpopular president, they have this bill, this GOP tax plan that they passed that was also historically unpopular. So now they have to try and sell that next year in 2018 while the midterm is going on, and it's going to be incredibly difficult messaging for them to move forward with.
You know, guys, in reading the president's interview, what struck me when he was talking about the lottery system is that he doesn't understand the lottery system. No. He makes it sound like other countries put names in a hat and they pick them out and they say, here, you get to go to the United States. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
Not at all. Go ahead.
Look, I don't think the president's ever personally known or had a relationship with a Visa lottery selectee. These are remarkable people with a love of the United States and an appreciation for all that we stand for. These are some of the greatest people you'll ever meet in the United States, and his attack on the lottery system is just part of a very convoluted immigration policy that he continues to talk about. It's wrong.
Raul, will Democrats, when they sit and meet, because we now know that House Speaker Paul Ryan, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer are all going to meet and in the beginning of the year and talk about a whole lot of things. DACA is going to be a part of it. Will they actually come up with some kind of fix that allows DACA to be saved and allows for Democrats to actually vote for a plan that doesn't enrage the Democratic base?
Well, with the president's tweets, he has made that so much harder, because with his demands for this, for number one, for the border wall, which only his base wants, about 3 in 10 Americans overall even want this border wall. By putting in those demands and putting in this demands for an end to what he calls chain migration and the diversity lottery, that has made it much more, those are almost can be considered poison pills towards reaching an agreement. And I want to remind people, the diversity lottery that he goes on and about, that's only 50,000 people a year. And when he talks about chain migration, which is actually a pejorative term, that's basically family unity, which has been the guiding principle of our immigration system since 1965. But what's at work here is, remember when it was standard policy in the Republican Party to say we are not against legal immigration, we are only against illegal immigration. Now, led by Trump, they are taking aim at what they call chain migration and the diversity lottery, which are channels for legal immigration. Mm-hmm. That's how far he has shifted the party to an extreme right position.
David?
Yeah, look, DACA is a big challenge for Republicans, and here's why. The dirty little secret is Republicans don't want to fix it. Listen, I wear those scars. I got in an argument on the House floor with a member of leadership when I was in Congress. And I said, when are we going to do comprehensive immigration reform? Right? We've said the president, at the time, President Obama, doesn't have executive authority for this, that we should do it as a Congress. And I got duped as a Republican because I believed we were going to do it as a Congress until a member of leadership screamed at me and said, do you know what the American people would do to us if we pass comprehensive immigration reform? The fact is the Republican base does not want it.
And so then, to my mind, that says a DACA fix is not going to happen, given your experience.
No, look at those solid red districts, right? 90% of Republican seats are solid red. They don't want a DACA fix.
Hey, Karine, so, you know, the president in his interview with the New York Times said that the Democrats should come to him. I'm going to read you part of that illuminating transcript. Now, in my opinion, they should come to me on infrastructure. They should come to me, which they have come to me on DACA. We are working. We're trying to do something about it. And they should definitely come to me on health care, because we can do bipartisan health care. We can do bipartisan infrastructure, and we can do bipartisan DACA.
Well, first of all, in healthcare, he doesn't care about healthcare. He only cares about taking healthcare away from tens of millions of people. We saw that this just a couple of months ago, just a couple of weeks ago. So that's a lie. With DACA and also CHIP, we cannot play with people's lives here, with children's lives. This is something that needs to happen. We can't let time continue to go on in January without figuring out how we're going to have a clean DREAM Act without a wall that's put into it and get that done. And also reauthorize CHIP. I mean, that is something that Democrats have to use every tool in their tool belt to make that happen. We can't play around with that, and it's just I think it's just insane that we still haven't done any of those things, and young people are trying to figure out what they're going to do next, and then you have parents who are dealing with their children's illness. So we have to move forward, and also we're talking about two things here that have bipartisan support.
Right.
And it's incredibly popular with the public. So this is an easy one. Republicans have the House and they have the Senate. They have the majority. It's on them. And Democrats have to be able to use every tool that they can to make this happen.
Raul, you've been jumping, trying to get in here.
Well, you know, David and I were talking, earlier, and we were talking about it. In this first year, Trump has actually missed opportunities. For example, on infrastructure. Had he attempted that earlier, before all of this, the hyper-partisanship, rolled along, he maybe could have got some Democratic support. And when we're looking ahead, you know what's something I think if he were interested, which is a huge if, that he could get bipartisan support on, is some type of massive bill for Puerto Rico. In the New York Times today, it says half the country still lacks power and water. These are our fellow citizens. 3.5 million Americans down there are suffering since September. Now, if the president were to come forward with some type of bill offering like relief, more aid, maybe changing the Jones Act, some of the other regulations for the island, what Democrats are not going to support that? But, he's in Florida. He does not care about Puerto Rico since he gave himself a 10 for his efforts and threw paper towels at people.
Right.
But that is something that his advisors should lean on him hard to get behind, and it's necessary.
Right, and David, I want you to add on to what Raul just said, but the president says he thinks infrastructure is easy. Infrastructure is going to be so easy to do. And how many times, correct me if I'm wrong, there was like 3 infrastructure weeks all year this year, right? And nothing ever got done.
Comey got fired or something, I believe, right? The problem with infrastructure is this: how do you pay for it? Because they just spent their ability to pay for it in this tax bill.
Right.
John Delaney from Maryland, a Democrat who is running for president, I was able to work with him. He led on an infrastructure bill that repatriated offshore corporate income, got the U.S. Treasury about $400 billion, and would have put it in a job bank for infrastructure. Instead, they repatriated that money and gave further tax cuts to corporate America. There's no way Republicans can pay for infrastructure without raising the gas tax, which they can't pass, or going to a per mile tax, if you will, on vehicles, and they're not going to do it.
They're not going to do it, and with it being a midterm election year coming up, traditionally, no matter who the president is, no matter who's in Congress, everything grinds to a halt the closer we get to November. Thank you both very much, David Jolly. David Jolly, thank you.
Thanks,
sorry, you're voted off the island. Sorry.